Hey, everybody, welcome back. I am really glad that you're here. This week, I am talking to Daniel Austin, who is a best-selling author. Daniel has written a children's picture book, and it is a story of a puppy that comes from some of the things that Daniel has learned in his own life. So, we're going to talk about Daniel's book. We're going to talk about the reason behind his book and some other things that he would really like to be able to share. So, Daniel, please tell us more about you.
Well, my name is Daniel. I live in Kansas. Um, I I've lived there for most of my life. I love animals. I love theater, and I I've been diagnosed with autism since I was from an early age, and I'm actually one of four autistic children.
In your family?
Yes.
Wow. Is it all four of you guys, or are there more than four and four of you are diagnosed?
There's more than four. Um, when my mom was married to my dad, she had four of us, and we got diagnosed with autism at an early age. It's varying degrees. And when my mom remarried, she had two more children, and they are not autistic.
Okay. That's a really interesting story. Yeah, just all of us. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, and so it's definitely really fascinating to see how even the same condition, the same diagnosis looks so different in different people. And I know some other families that have multiple kiddos with a neurodivergent diagnosis as well, autism or ADHD, and very similar to you, every one of their kiddos is very different. It's really, I think it's really cool to see how we can connect to other people who maybe think similarly to us. Um, and we can also connect to other people that have the same diagnosis as us but think completely differently. I think that's really amazing. So,
Yeah.
Daniel, tell me more about your book. What led to you creating this book?
Well, I grew up with a golden retriever in my childhood. Her name was Chelsea. She was with us for only 3 years, but she was the best dog we ever had. And I grew up loving dogs, loving cats, wanting to do things with them in my life. I've worked in animal hospitals. I've worked in doggy daycares, and it was actually working for a doggy daycare that gave me inspiration to start writing children's books about dogs going to a doggy daycare. And I decided, hey, why not have the main character be a golden retriever puppy named Chelsea? So the first story I actually wrote is her of going to doggy daycare, and that's actually going to be a later book. But um, and then I decided, hey, why not write a beginning story for her? So that's how Chelsea's New Beginning started. Uh, that's how I was inspired to write Chelsea's New Beginning. It was from me. It was taking in my own experiences from work, from volunteering at animal shelters, and I was actually inspired by. Have you ever seen Homeward Bound 2?
I don't know if I've seen two. I know I've seen one and I've read the book, but I don't know if I've seen two.
Yeah, Homeward Bound 2. Chance is told the story of a street dog who was rejected by his family, so he grew up to live on the street. So I just kind of took a little inspiration from that. And yeah, so that's how Chelsea's New Beginning was written. And I decided rather than make these just one-off stories, they're going to be a long, continuous um, uh, store life story for this golden retriever, and there's going to be story arcs, and it's going to this series began with her finding her first family, and it's going to end with her at the end of her life. So
Okay. I love that. I like how you took just inspiration and experiences from your own life to create this book. That's really amazing. And I'm glad that you had that dog in your life and had that experience with her. Daniel, I know that one of the things that's really important to you is just the concept of going for your dreams, going for your goals. Can you talk more about that?
Yes. Lots of people go through life not knowing exactly what it is that they want. That's not a problem for me. My my problem is not knowing what I want. It's having the resources and the support to get there. So one of the things I've always wanted to do is, well, write a book. Um, uh, since I loved books as a kid, I loved stories. I loved storytelling, and uh, and I also love acting. And that's another dream that that I plan to pursue. Um, get lessons and have the time to be able to audition and be on stage without it affecting the way I pay my bills. So, and um, and I just think it's really important for kids to have that because I mean I knew even back then that's what I wanted as a kid, but I felt like I didn't quite have the support I needed growing up, and I also wasn't really taught to assert myself and establish boundaries and really let other people know what it is that I want to do.
When you mentioned not having the support growing up, what do you think could have been different that maybe would have helped you accomplish this sooner or in a different way?
Well, some of it is actually kind of personal, but I do wish I would have at least talked to some school counselors in high school. Like for instance, I was in choir and I started choir when I was in fifth grade, and everybody told me I was a good singer, and it didn't really occur to me that um, you would need lessons as a singer. I was under the false impression that getting lessons, getting singing lessons means you're a bad singer. But that would have really benefited me because when I got into high school, I didn't quite, I wasn't able to really have the success I envisioned for myself once I got into choir in high school. And without it going into too much detail, if it was something I could do over again, I would have definitely gotten lessons singing and piano from an early age.
That's a really amazing concept that I think that's something that probably a lot of people think about is that if you're getting coaching, getting extra support, getting lessons, that it's for something that you are struggling with. But yeah, I think that's such a great point to delineate that we can get lessons and coaching and support for anything. It could be something that we are already doing, but maybe we want to be able to do it at another level than where we currently
Exactly.
are. Yeah, that's
It
a
doesn't,
great point.
yes, it doesn't mean you're not good at it. It just means you're getting better at it. And that's always good.
Yeah, I really love that point. I'm a triathlete, so I compete in triathlons, and I spent a long time just learning on my own. But then when I went to do a really involved long one, I realized I needed someone to help me because I'd never done that before. I didn't know, most of us don't know how to do things that we've never done before. So I
Right.
think that's a great example. I had already been racing for several years at that point, but I knew it was a different level, right? It was
Hmm.
something, it was a new aspect of it. So that's such an interesting concept. And I can see how most people would feel that way, that if you're getting extra support with something, it might make it seem like it's because you're not good at it, but it's actually because you want to be better, even if you're already good.
exactly. And that actually may be something I explore in the Chelsea, the Golden Retriever books, because dogs get training. And Chelsea is actually going to end up being a therapy dog. And in my third book, Chelsea and Benjamin, she's going to meet her new owner, Nathan's brother, Benjamin, who is based on my brother, Jeremy. And she's going to be a therapy dog for him and lots of other disabled individuals, especially those diagnosed with autism.
Okay, this sounds like such an amazing series that you're creating. One of the things that I believe is that I think everybody should and has the capacity to dream and have whatever goals they want for themselves. I think
Right.
for some of us, it may take us longer to get there, and we may need more support along the way. But I don't think that the dream or the goal needs to be any different than it would be for anybody else. It just may take us longer, and we may need more help to get there.
Right. And that's often why so many people give up is because it's taking a really long time. And that's something I want to offer as uh, encouraging advice to people who are listening to this, who are in that boat. Like, just keep going at it. Someone important to me told me to never ever settle, and that's what I'm not going to do. Is I'm never going to settle. It is I will admit taking a lot longer for me to achieve the dreams I envisioned having them uh much longer time ago, and if I had it my way I'd be enjoying it right now, but I'm just going to keep going at it no matter how frustrating it is.
Yeah, I think it's really inspiring how committed you are to your goals and your dreams. It's really inspiring. I think sometimes there are if we have a goal or a dream that seems really big, like I know I've worked with students in the past. One student really wanted to be a special education teacher. One
Mhm.
student wanted to be a doctor. One student wanted to be a veterinarian. And so
Right.
I talked to them about what can we do along the way to get closer to that. So
Hmm.
obviously there's classes and degrees and schooling that goes into all of those. But
Right.
also, can we get a job as a teaching assistant? Can we get a job
Yeah.
as a, veterinary tech? Because I think there's some of our dreams and goals are very long term, but I also think it's really important to do things along the way that are moving us closer to it. Did you have anything like that in your journey? Anything that you started doing that was moving you closer to where you are now?
um it was really if I so I'm just going to say when it comes to the singing, acting, and performing, I took classes, and it started to become clear to me that while I did learn some stuff in those classes, um, I wasn't really getting the um, when I took singing and acting in high school, I was learning um, some stuff in class, but I wasn't getting the one-on-one attention I needed, and that's what and I learned that I really learn best with one-on-one coaching, and that is also another thing. A lot of people don't have the money they need um, for the opportunities that would give them the training and the benefits that they need in order to and the resources that they need to succeed. So that's just also been something I've been working on. It's just getting more money, and it's just been a struggle to spend my time working at a job that pays me only a few dollars for an hour of my time, and like not having the time or energy to be able to take these classes. Um, it's So for adults, it's especially challenging, especially when these adults are in my boat, like they didn't have the needed support and resources they had as a kid. And on top of that, they were diagnosed as autism. So maybe they weren't also taken as seriously as maybe a normal child would have been.
Yeah, I definitely relate to your feeling about learning things better when it's one-on-one. I definitely relate to that as well. For me, sometimes it's because I have a hard time understanding some concepts, and so I do better one-on-one when someone can actually explain things to me. Sometimes I get kind of lost in a group.
Right.
Um, so I definitely understand that. And yeah, to your point about just the financial resources of things that are one to one. Um, yeah, that I can see how it can definitely sometimes in the ADHD world, there's this concept called the ADHD tax. And it's basically the concept is that we pay more as a result of having ADHD. So some examples are we forget to return things, and so then we end up having to pay for them. But that I think that would be another example of that, maybe a neurodivergence tax, where we learn much better in smaller groups or one-on-one environments. But if you're talking about things that are a course, a program, training, tutoring, teaching, then there's obviously, yeah, a higher cost for that. Yeah, I definitely see
Yes,
that.
for sure.
And I know that you also mentioned one of the things that is really important to you is having a trusted adult that can help you with pursuing your goals. Is that something that you've been able to have in your life?
Yes. I do have a life coach that I communicate with. Um, and there are I do have a singing coach now. I was able to find a uh, voice a teacher for voice lessons that I was able to afford at a much lower rate than I had in the past. So fingers crossed, knock on wood. Hopefully, I don't lose something like that again. I've had to take a lot of hiatuses from from uh from that really important goal of mine. So um once things really start improving for me, I'd like to be able to add on acting one on one, and eventually be able to take on different types of acting like improv and Shakespeare and other stuff like that. Just learning that and dancing especially. I feel like that's what really trips me up in auditions. I've always believed that when it came to dancing, it was my weakest, and that may be why I'm not having the success I want to have when getting cast in a stage production, even if I'm not going for a dancing part.
Okay. So that's something else that you're looking at adding as well as maybe some dance support.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not concerned about being a professional dancer or anything. I just want to be competent. I won't say no to professional level though. I'm
Okay. I think that's a really great mix. You're looking for ways to improve things that you're already skilled at, and you're looking at ways to improve things that are more challenging for you. I think that's a great mix. I think a lot of times for everybody, we tend to focus on the things that are difficult for us, and we tend to feel like we should be better, we need to be better. And so we tend, even in the school system, that tends to be a lot of the focus is the things that we're struggling with. But I
Mhm.
also think it's really important, like you mentioned with the singing lessons, to be able to get support in the things that we enjoy and the things that we show aptitude for so that we can grow even more in those areas as well. I think it's really important to have a balance between those two.
Yes, I agree 100%.
I think in the neurodivergent world, I think a lot of things are geared toward our deficits and our challenges. And I think it doesn't always leave time and energy for us to work on the things that are important to us. I think sometimes we tend to be in uh, possibly tutoring support, possibly different therapies, different interventions. And one of the things that I feel like is important is making sure that our kiddos are also able to be part of things that are supporting them emotionally, helping them feel like this is something they can help other people with, this is something that they're gaining skills at, this is something that's enjoyable to them. I think is another
Yes,
really important thing, is even if it's something we're struggling with, for that time to be enjoyable, because none of us learn when we're not having a good time,
I
right?
agree.
Yeah. Um, okay, back to the question about having a trusted adult. Why do you think that that is something that's really important?
I mean, the trusted adult is going to have life experience, going to have your best interests at heart. They um, It's something really solid for um, kids uh, to hang their trust on, really. Um, and and it's also a way to uh, hold hold themselves accountable. Uh, it's a way for them to follow up on that goal. And if they run into any challenges on the way, they can have help.
I really love all those points. I especially like the first couple things that you said, that they have life experience, right?
Yes,
Typically in the thing that they're supporting you with, right? They have
yes,
life experience and they have your best interest at heart. I really love that part too.
yes. And a lot of times it can be your parent, but it can also be a teacher, a counselor, someone at church, a family friend,
Yeah, absolutely.
or any other family member.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great point too, is that especially if we think about the life experience part of it, that sometimes our parents don't have that part of it. And sometimes I think sometimes parents feel like they have to be the ones to teach their kiddos kind of anything and everything their kids want to do. Um, but if we don't come from that background, if we don't have that life experience, we probably aren't the best person to teach that certain thing. Like I would never try to teach somebody singing lessons ever. And
Right,
so I think that's important too, is I think as parents, sometimes um, the feeling is that you have to be everything for your kiddos, but I don't think that's reasonable. And I don't think it's always in the best interest of your kiddos either.
right. And there's also the challenge of if you don't get support from your parent, whether they want to shield you from disappointment, or they just don't think, or they have something else in mind for you. I think it's just better to reach out to to other adults, let them know what it is you really want, and maybe just trying to find a way to bridge that gap with your parents, and just try to get away to where you can see eye to eye.
Can you talk more about what you said about parents possibly wanting to shield their kids from disappointment?
Well, for example, um, getting back to singing, it's no secret that the music industry, the entertainment industry, it's highly, highly competitive. In fact, even if you're incredibly talented, there's no guarantee someone will even notice you because you actually get in through somebody who knows you. That's that's something I wish I would have learned when I was younger. It's not about how good you are; it's about who you know. Um, but but assuming the myth that it's done by talent alone is true, you have parents who may not think you're good enough. You have parents uh, uh, who think you auditioning or going for your dream is not a good idea because um, you may not make it. Um, or even if you do make it, the industry is going to badly mistreat you, which does happen.
Yeah. And I think I'm not a parent, so I'm not able to speak from that perspective, but I do think there's definitely, as a parent, one of your primary roles is to protect your kids, right? To help ensure that they grow up safe, healthy. And so I think
Absolutely.
that's a hard balance. Um,
Hmm.
and I do, yeah, I can definitely see how that would be a hard balance for parents between wanting to protect and support and nurture your kids, but also encouraging and supporting them to do the things that they really show a passion for. Do you have any kind of suggestions on how parents can balance that?
Well, I'm not a parent either, so I can't really speak from that perspective myself. However, I do think it's best to just try to understand your child, listen to your child. Don't just shut down the discussion. Don't try to just uh, control. Um, just don't try to control like um, these things for your child. Just just really see if there is a way you can compromise. See if there is a way you can um, help your child. Um, bah, and 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 maybe just do your research. See what options are out there. Really.
Yeah, I think those are great suggestions. I also know, I think this may be kind of on the other end of that. For people like me who have ADHD, we tend to kind of be full of ideas and things that we want to try and things that we want to do. And what I have learned and what I know other people in my life have figured out is that just because I say something today doesn't necessarily mean that 3 days from now I still care about it.
Yeah.
And but I think it's really important to just listen to what kids say, what ideas they have, what they're thinking about, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't think it's a great idea, um, because either it will run its course and in a week or so it will no longer be an idea that they have, or your kiddo will be able to try and actually start to learn more about this topic or this goal or this dream that they have. Sometimes we learn things about it that make us realize, oh, that's really not for me, that's not something that I
Exactly.
enjoy.
And that's also probably another thing I would advise is don't don't think that sheltering your kid is equal to protecting them. Yes, protect your kid. Don't shelter your kids.
Mm-hmm. I think one way that these conversations could happen, because it's a tricky balance. I think one way these conversations could happen is if your kiddo comes to you with an idea of maybe something they want to be, something they want to try. I think you can, one of the strategies that I really love to use that's just very non judgmental, but helps my students be a little more aware is I might say something like, I wonder, I wonder what some of the outcomes might be if you tried that. and
That's
then just
good.
process with them, right? Because
Right.
part of the thing, whether you're a kiddo, whether you're impulsive, both of those situations, whether it's something you've never had experience with, we just don't always know, right? There's a lot that we don't always know. But even if we do learn those things, it doesn't mean that we don't still want to go for that goal. So I think it can be really helpful for somebody to just play that role and say, "Oh, I hear that you're really interested in this. What do you think that might look like, 3 years from now? Or what do you think you might need to do in order to accomplish that? Or how much money do you think you might need in order to pursue something like that?" And it's a really good way to help the person, even me as an adult. If I had somebody in my life that did this with me, it's a really helpful way to help that person think about things that they might not have thought about, but
Exactly.
also to be supportive of the idea.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely been things that I've had goals and dreams for, but once I got further into it, just realized that's not really going to make me happy. Or,
Yeah, that
you
happens
know,
too.
yeah, or I'm not willing to do what it takes to
Hmm.
get there. But I think it's important that we come to that conclusion on our own, as opposed to, as you were saying earlier, somebody kind of shutting us down,
Yes.
right?
Right. Because I also wanted to work with lions. Um, so like that became like my next dream after um kind of losing hope and making acting my career when I was in high school and early college. And uh people who were like in my circle, their method was to shut the idea down, say it's too dangerous, try to try to um show me evidence of why it's too dangerous, and it just made me want to do it more.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see that. I think I had some experiences in my family when I was maybe high school, college age, of just kind of coming up with things that I wanted to try or things that I wanted to do, and having one parent just basically say, "That's not an option," you know?
Yeah,
And everything's an option. So I think it's when the answer's an immediate no, it can actually damage your relationship with that person.
it
Um,
can.
yeah,
I mean, um, if you were a compliant child like me growing up, you do whatever some adult tells you, or when you're older, and you're past the age of 18, you think this person can't tell me what to do, and the more methods they inflict on me to try to control me, it's just I'm not gonna look upon that person as favorably later on down the road, even if you are do if you, even if you do think you're doing this for my own good.
yeah. And I definitely was not a compliant child. I was a pretty disruptive child. But I do recognize that when an adult authority figure tells you that something, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, as you mentioned, it's too dangerous, it's too far away, it costs too much. When someone who's older than you or more of an authority than you says things like that, we adopt those as the truth, right? Because
Yes,
we don't know any differently. And
and
so,
they become limitations on you.
yes, I even at my age right now, I'm just now starting to realize and to learn that there's so many things that I didn't even know were possible.
Yes,
Because I have always been told that this is the way that things are done. I do want to add that I think for people, this might not be so appropriate for kids, but for people who are older, especially if you're an adult, I'm going through some big transitions in my life as we're recording this. I started joining Facebook groups about things that I didn't even know existed. And once you start to join Facebook groups, you start to get recommendations about other groups. And I am now in groups for things that I didn't even know that was a thing. And it's become really inspiring and motivating for me, to think about possibilities for my future that I didn't even know were things that people do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a really great strategy too. If you're on social media, you don't even have to engage in the groups. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to comment on anything, but you can go into the groups and you can read the questions that people are asking, the things that they're posting about, the stories that they're sharing. And it just opens your world up to things that, I mean, just a simplistic example, I'm in podcast groups, right? Daniel, that's how you and I connected, is in a podcast group.
Yes.
I am a bit further along in my podcast journey than a lot of people who are in the groups. And so there could be people who are in the group because they want to start a podcast, but have not started, but maybe they're getting all kinds of ideas and inspiration just from showing up in that group. I had a woman the day before we're recording this that reached out to me because I'm doing things in my business that she hasn't figured out how to do. And so she and I met on Zoom yesterday just so I could share with her what I figured out how to do and just support her in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, not a huge fan of social media in general, but I do think there's tremendous power in Facebook groups. Even if you're not engaging, you can see the things other people are posting, and it can really open your world up to things that you might not have even realized were possible, or it can help you learn the steps that you didn't know you needed to take.
Yeah.
Are you in any groups that you would say have contributed to you being able to grow and move forward?
Well, I don't really get on social media as often as I used to, but I actually have found a lot more like-minded groups in my community that do meet on Facebook. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, I think it's also, you can connect with other people who are at a similar place to you in the same journey, right?
Yes.
So connecting to other people that are kind of going through the whole learning process in a similar industry or a similar career path or hobby or whatever it may be.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay, Daniel, is there anything else that you would like to share about your book, about your journey, about your advice?
Well, I will say that um, you can get my book on Amazon. In fact, I have the book right here, Chelsea's New Beginning, and you can get it on Amazon right now. And I believe I also gave you a list of social media platforms that this is on that you can have your followers follow at those links. If you want to put those descriptions in the video where they can get my book and where they can follow Chelsea the Golden Retriever for updates on upcoming books.
Yeah, we'll put that in the notes for the podcast and the YouTube channel as well. We'll put that in the notes so that you guys can find the book and follow Daniel's progress.
Yes. So yeah, this is a book series that you and your kids will definitely want to follow. You do not want to miss out on this.
And Daniel, let me ask you, what is the overall message of this book? What is the thing that you hope kids take away from it?
Um, so I would say the overall message is never give up hope. There is someone out there who loves you. This will also teach children pet responsibility. This will my goal is also to help kids become more interested and more involved in animal rescue because there are lots of dogs, lots of cats out there that need a home.
Those are, man, that's a lot of really great concepts in one book. I definitely agree the concept of teaching kids how to care for pets when they're young. I think that's a
Yes,
really important concept. Animal rescue, obviously. And then like you said, just the concept that we're never alone and there's always somebody out there who loves us.
yes.
So those are a lot of really great concepts. Okay, Daniel, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your time and congratulations on this book and on all the future books to come.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, everybody, for joining me, and I'll see you again next week. I'm glad you're here.